solve this equation, and we're going to do it by replacing secant squared with 1 over cosine squared theta. We're going to replace this tangent theta secant theta by its equivalent sine theta over cosine squared theta. And we're going to get a common denominator for 16, which is going to need to be cosine squared theta because each of the other terms is over cosine squared theta. So this becomes 20 times 1 over cosine squared theta this becomes 19 times sine theta over cosine squared theta. And then minus 16, but we would like for it also to have a common denominator of cosine squared. So we'll multiply it top and bottom by cosine squared theta. And this is supposed to equal 0. Now, if we want this as a single fraction, what we get on top is 20 minus 19 times the sine of theta. And it seems like we'd be much better off if I could change that cosine squared to a sine squared. And here's the way to do it. So in place of cosine squared, I'm going to put 1 minus sine squared theta. Now, if I want this thing to equal 0, all I need to do is concentrate on the top equaling 0, because if the bottom equals 0, you have real problems because that's dividing by 0. That's where you get asymptotes and holes and all kinds of other problems. This should say sine theta. Minus, now if I distribute the 16 in, the minus 16, I get minus 16, but plus 16 sine squared theta. And I'm just going to set the top equal to 0 because that's what's going to cause this equation to equal 0. So now I'm going to combine these like terms, and I'm going to put the squared term first. And so what I get is 16 sine squared theta minus 19 sine theta. I forgot my theta again. And then this is 20 minus 16. This is plus 4. Now, this is a quadratic equation. If it helps, we can just really quickly let u equal the sine of theta so that this actually looks like a quadratic equation. So this is really 16u squared minus 19u plus 4. And this doesn't factor nicely. So if you use the quadratic formula, you find that u equals 0.91396, and the other u is 0.273533. Now remember, each of those u's is really sine theta. So I'm going to replace this u with sine theta. And I'm going to replace this u with sine theta. So now we just need to do an inverse sine of this to find out what theta is. And I'm going to call this theta 1 because it's our first answer. And I'm going to put this in here. And I find out that theta 1 is 66 degrees. Well, 66.0 because your problem says to round to the nearest tenth. And I'm going to call this one theta 2. It's the second theta I'm finding. If I do the sine inverse of this number, I get that that angle is 15.9 degrees. Now, there are two other answers that you will never get from an inverse sine, because inverse sine can only give you answers between minus 90 and plus 90. So if you draw a picture, it's a lot easier. So if I put my unit circle here and I graph this angle of 66 degrees, which is probably right about here, the sine is this y coordinate, right? Which is this height right here. Well, there's another angle with the exact same height, and it's over here. This angle that is also 66 with respect to the x-axis also has a sine that's 0.91396. So here's my first angle, but in order to get this angle, this one that starts at 0 and ends, I didn't get that very well, and ends over here, I need this to be the other angle whose sine is 66, or the other angle whose sine is 0.91396. So to get that next angle, I'm just going to go 180, because that's all the way to here, minus that 66. And it turns out that another angle is 114 degrees. Now, if I go and graph the other answer over here on a unit circle, 15.9 degrees is down here, so here's that theta. The sine is the y coordinate, which means it's whatever number. This is my 0.2735. But I also have another angle here that has the same sine. And so this is my theta 2 here, my 15.9 degrees. But the other angle that I need starts on the x-axis and comes over to here to create this angle. And so that angle is 180 minus 15.9. And so the last angle that I need is 164.1 degrees. So there are four answers between 0 and 2 pi. These are two of them, and these are the other two. And you can check it if you graph this. So over on board 2, I am going to upload a graph that shows you this. And it is right here. Now, take a look. This is a graph of the original question, only setting y equal to 20 secant squared theta minus 19 tangent theta secant theta minus 16. That's what's graphed here. Now take a look at where it crosses the x-axis, because that's when y equals 0, right? When it crosses the x-axis. So if I set this equal to 0, that's going to be this point, and this point, and this point, and this point. So each of these is 15 degrees. That's my 15.9. Here's my 66. Here's my 114. And here's my 164. So we believe that we got the right answer. Yay us.